Welcome back to the Now Morning Show. Now we have a new segment on Now. Every Monday, a new collection of art will be installed on set for the duration of the week. And at the beginning of the week, we will feature said artists. And so this morning, I'm joined by a multidisciplinary artist from TNT, Miss Vivian Amour, whose work is featured proudly on our set. Now, Vivian is a graduate of the Emily Carr University of Art and Design in Vancouver, Canada. She graduated with a BFA major in visual art and a minor in social practice and community engagement. And of course, joining Miss Amour on set is also the president of the Art Society of TNT, Miss Keiba Jacob Mottley. Ladies, good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Vivian, I think by now your artwork is more popular than you because we've been featuring it all morning. It's so beautiful and it makes our set look so beautiful as well. So I want to start with you first. I gave a little bit about your background in terms of where you studied, but tell us what other projects you've been involved in.
So my background is actually originally in theater and film. I did a theater degree at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts in New York, which was phenomenal.
Right, yes.
Some of the best days of my life. And then I moved to Vancouver to explore film, and it was actually through working behind the camera. I did the cinematography and production design as my majors, that I fell in love with making and like transformed my love of telling stories narratively into physical practice. Yeah. So I was building sets and painting, styrofoam to look like brick for all those Christmas movies in July. And then that led me to do an art degree.
And here we have this. I mean, where does your inspiration come from? Because I love that I'm getting the elements of carnival.
Definitely.
But then there's also this beautiful lady behind you. And so where do you get your inspiration from?
So definitely I had a lot of tobacco when I was in Vancouver, and I loved explaining my culture through my art. And so a lot of my inspiration came from carnival, from our visceral colors and textures, and especially some of the traditional aspects of carnival. I have a bit of an obsession with blue devils and jabs, as you can see with my jab sculpture over there. Okay. But also I love exploring women and identity and, belonging and not belonging, and those dualities of feeling. I think because I grew up all over the world, it definitely comes through in my art, that feeling of trying to find your identity in space.
Yeah. Keiba, I'm coming to you because I know that the Art Society exhibits artists all the time. Tell us first of all about the Art Society before we get into this space. So who is the Art Society?
So the Art Society is a membership-based organization, and we are the promoters of visual art in Trinidad and Tobago. And so in our members, we have persons like Vivian. We also have corporate members like Angostura and Horizons Art Gallery. And then we also have students. So it's really an opportunity for people who love art to come together, to view art, to make art, to learn how to make art, the value and importance of art. I mean, we talk about so many things happening around the country and how we could invest the time of the young people into other things. So this is an opportunity, and hopefully the Art Society can do that. So for instance, we have workshops, and Vivian is going to be doing a workshop with us coming up soon at the Art Society, and hopefully we'll be able to take those workshops around the country.
Yeah, I love that you mentioned you have the workshops as well, because there are some people who may be wondering how to get involved, but they don't know exactly how to start. Keiba, I'm sticking with you, because how important is those workshops that you're doing, or even providing that space for artists to showcase their work?
It's important because art is, you need to have a space. Even if it's your kitchen table or counter, Some of us are fortunate enough to have a dedicated space in our homes or a dedicated studio space where we can invite other persons. And what I've found in the visual art community is that the persons who have dedicated spaces like Vivian open up those spaces and invite people to teach them about their craft, and to share their knowledge and experience with those persons. So that is why it's important. And the Art Society, we have a space. It's in Federation Park. And so we open up that space as much as possible for persons to have group exhibitions, individual exhibitions, as well as other persons. So we host workshops, and then sometimes persons rent the Art Society to host workshops as well.
Nice. So I know Vivian will be joining you pretty soon for that workshop. But Vivian, going back to your art, what type of art do you use, or what type of art do you think you specialize in?
So my studio right now is in St. James, so it's actually very close to the Art Society. Yes. And at the moment, I am focusing on painting and ceramics. So ceramics, really, I am so in love with. I do pottery, and I teach pottery classes, actually.
Okay.
I actually have a segment coming up this week, starting on Wednesday, for 6 weeks, teaching beginner pottery classes in different forms. So sign up if you haven't yet.
Yes,
I still
yes.
have space.
Yeah.
But I also really want to focus on, through my social practice and community engagement, bringing pottery and workshops to the public.
Right.
You know, making it more accessible. Something I want to do is an idea of entropy and having entropy involved in the making, and not focusing on the permanence of an object, but just the process and the making, and maybe putting it back in nature.
Yeah. I read that you also use a lot of allegory in your work. How are you able to sort of bring that sort of hidden meaning out?
So definitely, the folklore and explaining that belonging or lack of belonging and our indigeneity is something that I try to reference. These allegorical characters, you know, these characters that are kind of anti-heroes in our culture, the Blue Devil, the Dwen, you know, these things that have these complicated background stories, but actually also provide so much lesson and hope in our culture.
Yeah. I want to also turn our attention to the sculptures that you have. So this one is which one behind us?
This one is a jab jab.
This is the jab
Yes.
jab.
Yeah,
But I
and
thought
it's-
this one was interesting as well, with the corals and that kind of thing. How are you able to get that detail with the materials that you're using?
So I actually, in Vancouver, made a lot of my own glazes with raw materials. It's something that I'm hoping to be able to teach a glaze technology class in the future here. But importing the materials is a bit difficult. You know, ceramics doesn't have a huge amount of recognition and support in the Caribbean yet, and so it's a little bit more difficult to get those facilities up and going. But I'm working on it. I'm actually in the process of an expansion, so hoping to offer more classes soon. This one in particular, and as you can see from my plates as
Yes.
well, I get a lot of inspiration for my ceramics from nature. So the natural world, flora, fauna, especially the ocean.
Yeah.
Ceramics look best when they're wet too, so.
That's why you added the glaze
Yeah.
to give the understanding of that. And then how do you, like, because I see it's very intricate in terms of the shells and getting the details for the squid and even the corals. I mean, how long will it take you to create something like this?
That piece took months, several months. A lot of the oysters attached to it, I use actual oyster shells and created molds from them, and then glazed them. That one went through about 5 different firings to get the different textures and colors. Yeah.
Interesting. And how much do you think you can sell something like that for?
Whew. Well,
She laughs.
I'm still, you know, figuring out what the
Right.
market in Trinidad is for ceramic sculpture.
Yeah.
But one of my pieces recently sold for about $3,200,
Good.
which was great at the
Yeah.
Art Society.
That's good. And I mean, what has the reception been thus far, not just to your sculptures, but also to your paintings?
Good. I actually had an exhibition in February of 2021 at Arnhem's.
Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful place, when he was still at Bosco Holder's house.
Yes.
And that was a lot of my carnival paintings, and it was a Tobago exhibition that he helped me pull together in like 6 days, and it was fantastic,
Yeah.
especially right before the lockdown. So
Interesting. Keiba, I'm coming back to you because we have the paintings that we see a lot of at the Art Society. How difficult or easy is it to showcase sculptures, and what has the reception been like when people visit the Art Society?
People like sculptures. I could tell they like it because they always try to touch it.
After you tell them don't touch, yes.
You know, but I think they like it as well because of the 3D nature of it. You know, I personally like it because I can't do it. So usually things that I can't do, it usually fascinates me, which is why I'm looking forward to the workshop to learn how to do it. But people receive sculptures really well, and we do have quite a few sculpture artists in Trinidad and Tobago who are doing really great work. And so I'm hoping that people take an interest in it, you know.
Are there any current exhibitions on at the Art Society that we should know about right now, or any upcoming ones?
Yes, so we have an exhibition on now. It's part of the UE Visual Art program. their graduate exhibition, and that is going on this week. It's really interesting. You should visit. I saw it yesterday. So the Art Society is open today as well. We open at 12 to 6, usually Tuesdays to Saturdays, but we're open today for UE. And then right after that, we have our May exhibition. And so the May Members Exhibition is one of the flagship exhibitions at the Art Society. We usually have some of the best of our members' work on display at that May exhibition. So we're excited about it.
Yeah. I love that you mentioned UE, because if I'm not mistaken, a few weeks ago you would have hosted some students from the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and the Arts. They also had their exhibition there as well. So how important is it also finding that space for young artists who are coming up to showcase what they have produced or created?
It's important because, okay, so we, in the visual art community, we have galleries like Arnhem's that Vivian just mentioned, and I also mentioned Horizons earlier. And so they are commercial spaces, and they exist to sell artwork. And so you need that middle space between those professional galleries where you at that stage where you're selling work. And then you need that middle ground like the Art Society and other public spaces that exhibit art for young persons to exhibit their work, you know, because, and then we have some young people who, like for instance, Karen John, who even when he was in secondary school, he was exhibiting at Horizons, you know, and so he has a piece in the exhibition at UE right now at the Art Society, so it's really good. So it's good for them to have a space and not be concerned about sales, because sales is important. We love the sales, right?
Of
we
course,
love the sales.
yes.
But sometimes you just need to have your work displayed, exhibited under lights, because when you have your work at home in the studio and when you frame it and exhibit it in a gallery, it looks really different. So it's good for people to see their work in that frame, in that lighting.
Yeah. And of course, Keiba, I know you're an artist as well. So when are we going to be seeing your work?
Well, I'm losing my voice with that one. I actually have a show in September, so there's always a bit of nerves when you have a show coming up.
I can imagine. Of course. But Vivian, before you go, just remind us about the workshops that you're having, and of course, how can people get in contact with you?
Absolutely. So my Instagram is vivian.elizabeth.creative, or just vivian.elizabeth. That's my personal handle. And my workshop is in St. James on Brunton and Kathleen Road.
Right.
And I welcome artists to come visit me. Like you were saying, it's really important to foster that that community, especially coming out of COVID, where we were all so isolated. You know, having spaces to go where it's not just about sales, it's not just about showcasing, but just about fostering connection. So please come visit me at my studio in St. James. It's called Vivian Elizabeth Creative, and my classes start May 3rd.
Nice.
I run for 6 weeks, and then I take a break, and then I run another set of classes for another 6 weeks.
Very nice. Vivian, Keiba, so happy to have you in this morning. Vivian, thank you so much for lending us your artwork. I think it's going to be gracing our set for the rest of the week, and we thank you so much for it.
Thank you so much, Kimberly.
You're on the Now Morning Show. We're going to take a break. I'll be right back, but we're going to be talking about a film festival, so please stay with us.